What's going on, everybody? Andrew Thompson here of the Andrew Thompson Interview YouTube channel. My guest today is an individual who's been in the wrestling business for 5 or 6 years or so. She is also a fixture in the pro wrestling experience promotion. Her name is Savannah Evans. Savannah, how you doing today?
Hey, how's it going? I'm good. How are
Uh,
you?
I'm good. I appreciate you taking the time out your day to do this. We've been trying to set this up for a long time, just in case anybody hasn't known. It's like
A
2 weeks
long time.
so about 2 weeks or so. But Savannah also informed me that she recently did a show. And so I just wanted to start off with that. How does it feel to get back in the ring and doing what you do best?
It was good. So I've been able to kind of, I have a ring like close by where I stay. So I've been able to get in the ring a few times since, the pandemic broke out. But it was the first show that I had done since then. So it was outdoor, obviously, because we want to try to be, as cautious as possible. It was almost, I want to say it was like almost invite only. It wasn't 100% open to, everybody, but, it was outdoor. We did it to raise money for, it was a boys and girls fund that was local. So we ended up donating money to that. So, at the end of the day, it was a good cause, but it was outdoor and it was hot. It's the middle of summer. And we felt everything, like every bit of that heat. It was so hot.
And you started wrestling around 2014, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just over that stretch, that 2014 to 2020 stretch where we at now, how have you seen yourself improve and just the overall stretch that you've had thus far in your career? And how do you just feel like things have progressed for you?
Maybe just, I guess, like a normal average timeline for progression. Like, obviously, you start at square one and you want to see yourself progress. So I always felt like as long as I'm progressing along, like that's good. And obviously I'm, now a lot further along than when I first started.
Right.
So I can only keep hoping for, more of the same, more opportunities, more places to go work at and that kind of thing. I recently, so before the pandemic, I did my first overseas tour in Barbados for face-to-face wrestling down in Georgia. So that was cool for me. I was able to use my passport for the first time and wrestle overseas for the first time. So I think as long as I keep making like progressions like that, I can't be mad at the timeline.
Right. And over these past 6 years or so, like just as an independent wrestler, how do you feel like things have progressed for independent wrestlers in general? Because like it's just it seems like now, well, it doesn't even seem like it is, like the fact that you don't need to sign with a major company or a television network, a wrestling company that's on a television network to thrive at pro wrestling, because there's so many different opportunities. You have social media that you can blow up off of that can just lead to more bookings. Like, how do you think things are just progressive, as an independent wrestler?
Yeah, I think the fact that we are in an age where social media is so huge, like some people hate it, some people use it, and some people are great at it. They use it to their advantage. But I always feel like it's a good way to connect with fans, you know what I mean? Get your merch out there. Like not everyone has a website where they sell like all their merch. They can do it on social media, I guess is one of the advantages. But I think it's kind of been, well, I guess wrestling has kind of changed and evolved with the times. So obviously in the 90s, you didn't have social media like that to be putting yourself out there. And so a lot of times you had to be on TV for people to know who you were, unless, the diehard indie fans like knew who you were when you were around. But I think it's kind of, social media's opened up a whole lot of avenues for exposure for people. And definitely, so like before AEW was a thing, I think the Young Bucks were the model for you don't have to be signed somewhere to be successful, because they were making tons of money just, working their shows, doing PWG, going, overseas and wrestling in Japan. Like they were making a healthy living, having never signed WWE. And now obviously they part own, their own company, where I think it's still kind of the same motto of, having your own creative freedom to, to create, whatever you want, like turn your character in its own direction. And you don't have to go to WWE to make, to be successful, to be quote unquote successful. So I think they've just kind of followed that whole mindset into, AEW.
Oh, you good?
Oh no, I was saying, yeah, you definitely don't have to be signed. I know WWE is the goal for a lot of people, but you're right. It just shows you don't have to be considered a success.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, I feel like that's like the craziest thing about pro wrestling now is that we're just in this era, this golden era of social media when you, like you said, you don't need to be specifically signed to a major company in order to blow up or in order to make a living, it's crazy to me just how things have changed just over like when you look at just over the past 3 years, not even the decade, just over the past 3 years, how things have changed and evolved. And like it's like the independents have become like a real hotbed, and like it's so many opportunities out there, man. But speaking of opportunities, we got to dive into your career. I do want to talk about the trio of the sexy young caramels with yourself, Devin, Nicole, and Big Swole. Any fond memories from that trio?
I wish that group would have lasted longer. Like, first of all, it was just the three of us having fun. You know what I mean? We didn't really have much else going on. So the group started in Queens of Combat, which is a local all-women's promotion in Charlotte. And we didn't really have a bunch, going on. It was originally me and Ariel, and then we added Dev and Nicole, who had just got to the company. And we just had fun. It was just our group to go out there, have our fun, just kind of be what we wanted to be and have fun with it. So we were out there, just having a good time. So I really enjoyed that. And it was, an all Black female group. Right. So, you hit both of those marks, and it was fun. Like, we went out there and had fun. We had a segment one time with, I want to say it was the Fella Twins and Jamie Senegal. We had a segment with them.
You said the Fella Twins?
The Fella Twins, yeah. It was, let's see, Eddie McQueen and Rick Cataldo. And then Jamie Senegal was with them. And we just had so much fun because we were all just, like taking shots back and forth at each other. The crowd was really into it. And that's what I just remember being like one of the highlights of being in that group, is just really having fun with the crowd, having fun with each other. Like, it was hilarious. I remember, so one of the buildings we used, it didn't have good Wi-Fi service, or it didn't have any Wi-Fi. The connection was bad. So they didn't have like really anyone's music. They didn't have our music. So, we were up, and then they played Jump Jump by Criss Cross, and we're like, oh, is this what we're coming out to? So we just had to come out to that. It was one of those spur of the moment things, like, okay, we're just rolling with the punches. So definitely a lot of fun. I love both of those girls. Of course, I trained with Big Swole when we were both coming up. And then Devin, like, we call each other twin. Like, we just connected instantly. So the fact that I could have so much fun with these two girls, that I just bonded with, it was definitely a fun time. And I wish it could have lasted a little bit longer, but it never expanded outside of Queens of Combat. But that's one thing that I probably would have liked to have done with it, is to take it other promotions.
Yes, I was going to ask you, like, just to, follow up on that. Like, do you feel like those experiences, with that trio early on in your career, it really helped make you like comfortable, just figuring out, I'm assuming like, figuring out who you were in professional wrestling, your spot, and, trying to, pitch yourself in, various areas within the business. Like, did that experience with that trio help you, really get comfortable and solidify with who you wanted to be in pro wrestling?
So back then it was a little bit of a different character for me, like, but it was more about having fun. I would play off of, Ariel, what Ariel was doing. And, like, we just fed off each other's energy, the three of us. So yeah, it was, I guess, definitely a time to be, comfortable in front of the audience and doing those kinds of things. But it was definitely a little bit of a different part of like my career, like character wise.
And you mentioned that you teamed with Ariel, Big Swole, early on in your career. Just speaking on that specifically before Devin Nicole joined the team, was it good to have somebody right there with you along for that ride? Because that was early on in your career when you were teaming with Big Swole. Was it good to have somebody like a comrade, a partner there along for the ride for you, early in the early stages to, not necessarily guide you through it, but just to have somebody there on your side?
Yeah, to have a friend there with you, because right. I had done Queens of Combat one time early on, and then I wasn't back for a while. And then when I did come back, we were both on the shows together from that point on, like both featured. So at that point, it was like, well, we might as well team up. You know what I mean? Like, but we definitely knew each other, and it was like you said, having a friend there that you could kind of play off of.
And saying when we talked about how the business has progressed, for independent wrestlers, just being a Black woman, how do you think the business has progressed in that department? Has it, or maybe even regressed, or how have things been, just from your specific standpoint in which you can speak to, like how has the wrestling business changed over the past 5 years or so for African American women?
I'm not sure. I there's opportunities for Black women out there, and maybe maybe it's becoming more prominent now. I know Thunder Rosa just opened an all women's wrestling company in Texas, so you would like to think that that's more opportunities for not just women but for Black women to go and work and showcase their talents and their skills and show everyone what they can do. So I would say the opportunity is there and it's open. I think it's just time everyone has to embrace that opportunity now, fans, promoters, the workers, etc.
Right, and just speaking on the Thunder Rosa promotion, the Mission Pro Wrestling promotion, I believe it's called. For anybody who doesn't know about that, it's all women promotion. Like, and I mean, from the producers to the referees, to the people that's booking the show, to the commentators, to the everybody that's involved. And I think that's cool as hell that Thunder Rosa to put together. And I'm like very interested to see like who's going to be on the show, because I know it's going to be a lot of people who we haven't seen before that's going to be on the show. And I think it's just going to be like a real collective effort to showcase some of the women in professional wrestling who really haven't been able to get that shine, but now just on this stage they'll be able to solely get the shine.
Yeah, exactly. That's my same feeling about it, because like you said, it's pretty much produced, run, like the crew, the camera work, everything by women, like to for opportunities, but also just to be like, hey, look, you know what I mean, like we can do this too, like look at what we're doing. So I feel like it can only produce like good stuff. I think it's going to be great.
And recently on social media, I did want to get your thoughts about this. We saw the speaking out movement that happened. Where various women in professional wrestling came out about the harassment that they've endured or abuse that they've endured in professional wrestling. I think it was a real good thing to kind of clean house in professional wrestling. It's needed to happen, and obviously it took a lot of strength to come out and everybody to share their respective stories. I just wanted to gauge your thoughts about it as overall, and what do you think? What do you think about the situation overall? And are you in the same agreement that this needed to happen?
Yeah, I think it definitely, people that are out there, you know what I mean, like, and are in things for the wrong business, they do need to be outed. Like, we don't need to keep people like that around. So it took a speaking out movement for a lot of girls to come forward, and if that's what it took, then I'm glad that it happened. You know what I mean? People feel they need to feel like they are heard and that their experiences matter, because they do. So it's just really big for me. Like, I'm a huge like mental health advocate. So whenever, I always feel just, you know what I mean? Like, when people feel like they can't come to someone or they have no one to come to with experiences like that, negative experiences like that, it rips at me. You know what I mean? Like, everyone should feel like they are comfortable, that they can go to someone, whether it's a friend, a best friend, a coworker, a therapist, hey, this is what happened. I feel comfortable sharing this with you. And when people don't have the outlet, it's hard. So I'm definitely glad that, people were able to get these experiences out there. And, maybe some people weren't, obviously aware that they were friends or close friends with someone, who was literally just evil, just bad. And so I think that's a good step in taking the steps to kind of, clear up professional wrestling, because, there's a lot of people that don't stand for that kind of thing. And I think that needs to be more often, where people are being called out on inappropriate behavior.
Right, 100%. And just transitioning back into your career here, I know that you're coming up on I believe a 4-year as champion for the Platinum Pro Wrestling promotion based in Florida. I know things haven't really been up and running, of course, but I mean it still counts to me. I mean, as they said, I know you're the Diamonds Division Starlight champion, if I'm correct by that. Just tell me, like, I'm not sure how many defenses that you have been able to have, throughout this stretch, but like coming up on a 4-year champion, man, like it still counts to me, and I think that's like a real big feat and something I'm pretty sure when things get back up and running that they'll be sure to incorporate, like who's going to stop. Are you going to be able to stop Savannah Evans before she gets to the full 1-year mark?
Yeah, so I got that title very late last year,
Mm-hmm.
and I've only been able to defend it one time because obviously the pandemic happened. But they had plans for WrestleMania weekend. I was so like happy for. Like there was talks of, like the men's champion and the women's champion tagging against the men's champion and the women's champion of another promotion, and I was just like, there were so many like just cool ideas that they could have ran with. But I'm excited to get back over there at Platinum Pro. Mm-hmm. But it is like a weird, I guess, shame that like the pandemic in the middle when things were just starting to get rolling. So I'm definitely looking forward to going back down there.
And you mentioned WrestleMania weekend. Like I don't know why, but I feel like this was like one of the most anticipated ones, like just for everybody as a whole, because it felt like a collective. Like so many people were heading down to WrestleMania week. I mean, to Tampa for WrestleMania week, and it was so many shows. We got the collective and all, like just so many independent promotions were holding shows down there. People from Ireland, the UK, like it was gonna be crazy down there. Like just in general, like before of course the pandemic started. How excited were you to head down to Tampa for Mania? And not even just wrestling, just seeing people that that you're cool with and you hang out with, and everybody just being in the same area.
Right, because Cedric and Ariel stayed down there, so I was excited to get to see them. Mm-hmm. And then also, let's see, Montezzi was having like I think it was like a Saturday night like a party. They're like wrestlers and like music, and that was going to be great. And then also, of course, the wrestling shows themselves. So I always enjoy WrestleMania weekend because, so I work with High Spots, and they run WrestleCon every year. So it's a convention in the same city as WrestleMania every year. So we were getting geared up for that. Like, we had our venues, we had like buses, we had hotels, like everything was set in stone. And then all this stuff happened. I was like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do?
Right,
what are we going to do? But yeah, I want to say I had like 4 shows and then like a guest spot on a different show. So I was excited, you know what I mean? I was hyped, and then for it to not happen, it's like, I understand, this is serious and a pandemic is going on, but everyone was excited for WrestleMania weekend, everybody.
And I really wanted your thoughts about this next topic as well. I know you've done some work with Evolve in the past, and the news recently came out that WWE acquired Evolve, and we know they worked with them in the past, various wrestlers being exchanged. And I know that I think Shimmer and Shine are going to stay under the WWN banner, but of course Evolve is transitioning over to the WWE. Just your thoughts about because I mean obviously the opportunity is possibly on the table of Shine or a Shimmer possibly appearing on the WWE Network. Just thinking about the possibilities and you possibly working with those promotions under the the WWE banner, but not of course being with WWE. I think that's like a real big opportunity / possibility that could be lying ahead in the future.
Yeah, definitely. It opens up an amazing amount of doors. Right. First of all, you bring up the point that now Shine and the other WWE companies under that umbrella could also be featured on the network. Besides the fact that Evolve got bought by them, but it opens doors for like so many people, like all the Evolve guys, all the girls in Shine. And so I'm definitely looking forward to any of these opportunities, if they come my way. I'm definitely always, waiting and watching for what's coming next. So I'm looking forward to it. It definitely, it's exciting because it's a little bit of an unknown. Like, well, what are they doing with these promotions that were under that WWE umbrella? Or, are they just going to like let them go out? Are they going to continue to run as indies? Are they going to be like, mini house shows for, WWE or like, what comes of that? But, I guess we can all keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, we definitely gonna see. And another topic, I wanted to talk to you about was intergender wrestling, and I kind of wanted to get your thoughts about that specific term as well, because I know you wrestled a handful of men a bunch of times throughout your career. Just, like, are you ready to do away with the term intergender wrestling, or do you think like, or does it not really like bother you that much? Because I've seen various takes. I know a lot of people are like kind of just do away with the intergender, just call it pro wrestling. That's what it is. But some people,
Mm-hmm.
the mindset of like, it's to label the match, I guess, for lack of better terms,
Yeah.
like male versus female in that type of sense.
And I get that, but I'm a person that, like, intergender wrestling should be an attraction. It should be, a guy versus a girl. And I think that you're okay to label it that, because that piques people's interest.
Right.
Oh, I want to check this out. They have an intergender wrestling match.
Right.
Much like midget wrestling. I'm not saying it's the same, but it's like they advertise it as midget wrestling because they knew people were going to be like, oh, I want to come check this out. You know what I mean? Like it's something to add to the show. And I don't particularly believe that every match on a show should be intergender unless the show is deemed so. I think it's intergender wrestling, like a special attraction. It has to be done in a special way. You know what I mean? That's what I strongly feel about intergender wrestling. I know a lot of people have their issues with it or they don't like it, but I think if it's done correctly, it's great. And I personally like working with the guys doing intergender matches. And I've said this like a million times, like James Drake, like JD Drake is one of my favorite people to wrestle. Legit.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about JD Drake, honestly. I'm talking about just from a trainer's wise. Like, I've heard people that have trained under him that have like learned some like real great things, and they spoke very highly of him. And just going back to just the pro wrestling scene overall. Let's say, do a little game here. Let's say 5 years from now, right? Where do we see Savannah Evans? The Savannah Evans start her own wrestling promotion? That she like? What's that?
Oh,
Like,
man.
I know that's like a kind of a layered question and not something you could just like off the top. But like, let's say let's cut that down to 3 years or so. 3 years from now, like, do you see yourself continuing to thrive on the independent scene? Do you see yourself possibly signing with the company? Like, just from what you can tell right now, and just from what you know about yourself as an individual, where do you see yourself
3 years from now, I wouldn't say running a wrestling company. I think that, like, I don't have that mindset, mind frame, or maybe even patience to do that. But definitely still wrestling. Absolutely. Would love to be signed, whether it's WWE or AEW or what have you, overseas in Japan or in Mexico. Like, I would love to still be wrestling. Absolutely.
And the first match I ever saw you wrestle, it was that Queens of Combat show. I mean, Queens of Combat promotion that you mentioned. It was yourself, Zoe Skies, Chris Statlander, and Tasha Steelz, who Impact and AEW respectively. I almost blanked over.
I
Chris
love that
Statlander was
match.
I was just about to tell you, like, that was a really, really great match. I really enjoyed that overall. You guys, like, I feel like, it's easy for us as fans to sit back and watch a four-way match or just any type of multi-person match and see how it goes so smooth. But I'm pretty sure that's like, is it, specifically speaking about that match, like, is it kind of tasking to have everybody, all four people in that match, everybody come together and just make it seem so smooth? And then, because I'm pretty sure it's like a lot of communication that you guys got to have, or is it just one of those things where you just go out there and just,
It's absolutely a lot that goes into the shows. This one particularly was part of a convention that we were doing. So we had to fill like a very certain time slot because there was something going on after our show. But I really want to say, like, the whole show from top to bottom, everyone kind of like got in there, they did their thing, everyone showed out. But our match especially, all four of us, I want to say we all had the goal in mind to be like, this is what we expect of this match. And I feel like for the most part, we all delivered. Like, I remember that match being so fun, and like watching everybody just firing on all cylinders. Like, it was great.
And you really do, like, not blowing smoke, but I'm gonna tell you, you really do stand out in that match. Just like the intensity, the athleticism, the size. Like, it was just like, you really do. You're an eye catcher in the ring. I think that's the best way to put it. Like, you really are. So, as far as what people can expect from you in ring wise, what can, like, when they see you, when they're able to see you on, like, on a streaming service or anything of the sort? Like, what can people expect from that can be added to the repertoire of Savannah Evans?
Man, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, that's what I expect from I guess that's what I expect people to take away from my matches is, like intensity, like size, like I feel like size is a huge thing in wrestling because
it is.
It really is. And so a lot of these girls, like, Statlander is a taller girl, but like, the other girls are like shorter. So automatically it just the visual of the size difference, that's something I'm always thinking about in like my presence. Like, how am I presenting myself as I'm in the ring or as I'm going to the ring? And it's so much more than just like your moves and what you're doing. Like, of course, everyone likes like the cool moves. I kind of stick with more of like the non-flashier stuff because I want the attention to be on, my size and the way I move and, that type of psychological thing. But that's, I want to say that's like me in a nutshell. That's the character in a nutshell. And of course I'm always trying to expand on what it is that I'm doing out there. How can I connect with certain people different ways? It's maybe not always obvious, but definitely those matches on the streaming services are the ones people should be watching, not the YouTube matches. Like, and it's not, matches that I recorded, but like, say a fan's at a show and they record my match, but it'll be from like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm like, oh, I don't want this on YouTube. Like, why? Like, I don't. So I always tell people, and not just because I work for the company, but High Spots has a great streaming service for like literally every wrestling company you could, indie company you could want to see. The High Spots Wrestling Network. It's $9.99. It's not that difficult. We even go even more specific. If you just want women's wrestling, there's a women's wrestling network. It's also $9.99. But the Queens of Combat, I would say, is where to find like a lot of my good stuff. And also PWX, you mentioned them earlier. Last year we were doing like a lot of like good stuff with them. So there's some good stuff on there too.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier, like I really wanted to touch on that, like specifically speaking about like the size and athleticism difference between you and other women that are in the ring. And you spoke about Chris Statlander earlier. Like I remember I was listening to a podcast that she did. I think it was the AEW podcast that she did, and she was just talking about how Kenny Omega was telling her that she does have a distinct size difference in the ring. And people really pay attention to that. And Chris Statlander was telling him how she wanted to do like this 450. And Kenny was like, you should save that for another time because that's going to be like a big thing when you eventually do it because they're going to see somebody of Chris Statlander's stature and they're going to be like, whoa, she just pulled off a 450 opposed to it looking not less impressive, but not at the same level if someone of a smaller stature would have pull off like a move like that. And that's not to say that Chris Statlander, like, and even people that don't know that, like, it's not to say that she can't do it. It's just like it's more of a like you said, like a psychological thing. Like when people see that, they're not going to expect her to go to the top rope and pull up a 450.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure you're probably of the same mindset. It's like you can really do these overly athletic things, but it's like as far as how your character is and just how you want to present yourself, it's like I'm gonna save that for later down the road, and I'm gonna keep.
You save that for like your big WrestleMania match, and then it really shocks people. Yeah.
So I was just gonna ask you, you have that same mindset and that same thought process when it comes to when you step in the ring.
Right. Yeah. So I love Statlander. When I first met her, she's super but she's super in control of her body and how her body moves. So of course she wants to do all of the super athletic stuff, which bless her, she could do it. Like, I like definitely do all that stuff that she does. And that's what caught my eye about Chris. Like when I first met her, I'm like, wow, she's really athletic. So I think she should definitely use all that stuff to her advantage. But I do see where Kenny's coming from. As far as, if you save those for like special occasions, it probably means more. And I was brought up in wrestling in that mindset, like an older school mindset of, you don't show them all of your good stuff all at once. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you want to leave them with something more. And I think that still kind of applies to today, but you also see the opposite side where it's like, well, I want to get certain reactions, so I am going to do this, and this. every match. So I think it really just depends. At the end of the day, it's personal preference. At the end of the day, it's what, definitely. How do I want, to come across? So
I think that's kind of like a cool comparison between like the independent scene and, major companies, because like, I feel like with these major companies, you have the opportunity to kind of slow it down a little bit, because you can come on TV the next week and, or the week after that, and you can keep progressing. But like, I feel like as far as like an independent show, this might be this person's or fans one time to see you. So you want to give them like the whole shebang. Like you got to give it to them all at once. Like, do you kind of think that's like kind of in line with, with what we're talking about right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly it.
Mm-hmm. And just while we're somewhat on the topic of AEW, we've seen so many independent wrestlers be featured on AEW Dark, like Suge D. I've seen Faye Jackson in the crowd. Like we got Brian Pillman Jr., who's with MLW. Like it seems like there's so many independent talents, man, that get featured on AEW Dark every week. It's like really cool to see. Like it's is that something that, you will, I mean, of course, it's something you would like to do, but is that, has there ever been any, communication or, anything of the sort between, yourself and potentially appearing on that program?
I mean, I would absolutely love to appear on AEW.
Of course.
Like you said, it's like you see so many people you've worked with and so many of your friends on Dark, like in definitely Suge was the first person I was like, oh my gosh, Suge, like get it, like, do your thing, like, you know what I mean? It was an opportunity for more people to see what it is that he does, that he brings to the table, that Suge D flavor. But yeah, I would absolutely.
And he blew up off that, like big time.
Oh yeah,
the whole Pineapple Pete thing, and then people obviously found out his name Suge D, like, but it's still, it's like,
he took full advantage of all that. He ran with that. He made that, a huge deal. And that's just part of who he is. He's going to take an opportunity and run with it, which you absolutely should. He was a good example of that. But I would definitely, if they offered me something, I'm there. I don't have any qualms about working for AEW. That would be great.
100%. Well, Samantha, just lastly here, let the people know where they can follow you on social media, Twitter, Instagram, any merchandise links that you have, everything's going to be plugged in the description of this video. So, the floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So I might be in the middle of changing my Facebook from like a personal Facebook to more of like, a Savannah Facebook. But right now I do have a Facebook page for Savannah Evans. I believe that's Savannah Evs. And then my Twitter is Savannah Evans, the letter N and the letter V. I say this every time. Someone took Savannah Evans and they haven't used it since 2012. So I kind of want to get after Twitter. Yeah, I want to get after Twitter and be like, hey, is there any way that this can be like a defunct Twitter and I can pick it up? But for now, it's Savannah Evans NV. And then the Instagram is Savannah Evs. Yeah. No, I feel like I do most of my, I guess, social media browsing on Instagram. I just like it better. If you like dogs, follow me. My dog on Instagram too. He's Cowboy the Pitbull on Instagram, if that's your thing. I also have merch. So I advertise my merch on all three of my social medias, but I also have a Pro Wrestling Tees page. And then I'm in the process of doing a Big Cartel website as well for all my stuff. Yeah.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. All of that will be plugged in the description of this video. Go buy up all of her merch. Go follow her on social media. Go support her on whatever platform. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Savannah Evans. I'm Andrew Thompson of the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel, and we are out. Peace.